Good morning and welcome to another edition of Ask the Experts. We are joined today by Angela Dunz of Cowgirl Marketing. I missed something, right? This longer
Cowgirl
name.
Creative Cowgirl Creative Coaching.
Cowgirl Creative Coaching. My apologies. It's inevitable. Angela, how are you?
I'm doing great this morning, Mike. How about yourself?
I can't complain. You and I have tried to do this more than once, so we're happy to finally, or hopefully finally, achieve this. So, Angela, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell our audience a little bit about you.
Well, I think I was born with marketing in my soul because it just seems to be something that is really easy for me. And back in 2008, when things went a little bit wonky with the economy, I decided to go back to school
That was
and
a
get
very
my
nice way of putting what happened in 2008.
Well, my kids knew that I wanted to get my MBA, and they were handing out student loans like Skittles back then, because of the way things were. So I decided to take one of them and get my MBA. When I completed my MBA, my first job offer in medicine was 30,000. And I was wondering why I had
Madison
just
as in
gone.
Madison, Wisconsin?
As in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay, okay.
Yes. And so I talked to some friends of mine that work for Deloitte in Chicago, and they said, Angela, get yourself to a coast, east or west,
Mhm.
get to a coast. The economy is not recovering here. You're going to end up as an office admin in Chicago, and you're going to throw yourself off the Sears Tower. So I took their advice and I told the kids to come and get everything out of the house. And I packed up my Jetta and moved out here sight unseen to get a CMO or a director of marketing position that never happened. And so, with that shiny new MBA, I started my own business. And here I am 11 years later with a thriving business coaching LinkedIn.
Not to trash Chicago in the Midwest because that's not the intent here. But I
Go
spent
Packers!
I spent 8 years in Chicago, and and a couple of brutal winters. And at one point, I had a meeting in January at Stanford with a prospective client, and it's January in Stanford. It's 70 degrees, and it's minus 20 back in Chicago. And I was like, I can't go back. I just
How
can't
can you
do
get
this
on a plane
anymore.
and
So, I made it a point to move to a coast as well. I raised on a coast, so I grew up in New York, but, that 70 degrees in January was just like, why did I not know about this? Why am I living in Chicago? So yes, I can feel your pain when the Midwest. We love the Midwest. We're not trashing the Midwest. We're just not in favor of
not
their
at
weather
all?
and their winters. So tell us, so you launched Cowgirl Creative Consulting. How did I do? Did I get that one at this time?
Coaching, but coaching and
Coaching.
consulting are both what I do.
Yeah, so, yeah, maybe by the end of this, I'll get it right. So you launched it. What was your focus and what was your intent when you launched it?
Well, when I got here, I actually didn't have a job lined up and I started bartending. And so I was looking for all sorts of different things. And I have a master's in curricula design. So I ended up writing curricula for a couple different places. And one of them ended up being the Renaissance Center, which was an entrepreneur incubator that was on 3rd Street here in San Rafael. And I wrote a course, a 12-week half day on Saturday course for people who were not getting hired back into corporate America. And they called it Encorepreneurs. How do you start a business of your own if you've always been an employee? And some of them, it was an interim gig. Some of them, it was going to be permanent. So we sort of covered the ranges with that. 1 hour of that curricula was LinkedIn. And half of the class who were then 10 years ago in their 70s said, hell no, we are never going on social media. And the other half was like, this is kind of like having a free website. And they just dove right in. And so the director of the center said, Angela, you have to teach this to all of our people here. And so once a month, I was teaching a full day LinkedIn course on how to promote your business on LinkedIn. And so by the time we got to the end of the year, I had a budding business. And most people at that time didn't understand how to use LinkedIn or that it even was a business platform. And a lot of people are like, Angela, you're going to starve. People don't build their businesses on LinkedIn. But I stuck to my guns. You know, everybody said, you're going to have to do Facebook and you're going to have to. And I focused solely on LinkedIn and how it can help people build their business.
That's really interesting because a week ago, a client came to us and said, I just got my bill to renew my website, to renew the hosting and all of that, and it's a lot. And I don't get any traffic. And so I asked the client, I said, are you on LinkedIn? And she said, yes. I said, do you have followers on LinkedIn? Yes. Do they engage with you? Yes. I said, cancel your hosting. You're fine. You're perfect. So despite the fact that we build websites and we, promote that, and we do think they're important depending on who you are and what you're doing. But in this particular case, I was like, if you, are reaching your audience on LinkedIn, you're good. You don't need that website. Do you agree?
Oh, I'm of mixed mind when you say that. My heart skipped a beat when you said that,
I
Mike.
know, right?
Um, 8 years, I built my business without a website. And I'm pretty sure right now that my website's doing me more harm than good. Um, Websites have become much more static. And here's the fact: 52% of all traffic driven from social media to websites comes from LinkedIn. 52%, the smallest platform on social media, and it drives 52% of the traffic to websites. And that's all about credibility. That's all about believability. I mean, every Joe Schmo can set up a YouTube channel and doesn't mean they're legit. But if you're driving traffic from LinkedIn, people have a tendency to trust you a little bit more.
Just to be clear, I'm not advocating that you dump your websites, and we do think they're an important component of marketing. But what we think is that there's this opportunity on LinkedIn to connect, particularly if you're a B2B player, to connect
Yes.
with professionals. One of the crucial things about LinkedIn, unlike platforms like Facebook, is you don't necessarily need to pay in order to connect with people. On Facebook, the only visibility you're ever going to get is going to be through paid, promotion. However, on LinkedIn, if people are following you and people are engaging with you, they will continue to receive your information and, engage with you. There is, definitely, reasons to have a website. Folks like to see it to verify you're real, those types of things. So again, we're not necessarily advocating, but in this particular case, her website wasn't doing much for her. And, the cost, and we're all about ROI. If you're spending money, you should be making a return, and the cost just wasn't there. And I don't think that she was at a loss by, by focusing on LinkedIn. The only caution that I would say around that strategy is the one thing that we, repeatedly caution people about is building on rented land, right? So because if you're working on LinkedIn, which is fine, which is a great platform, you still need to be able to connect with people directly. And you still need to build a mailing list because for whatever reason, and many of us have been there, some of us do it all, seem to be there all the time, we get bounced from platforms. For some ungodly reason, we seem to have violated the terms of service that we can't figure out what we did, or who knows what, right? So the only caution I would say is if you're choosing a platform like LinkedIn to have as your sole tool, you still need to be able to capture people's contact information directly so that if for whatever reason LinkedIn gods decide that you've not been playing fair, you haven't lost your entire audience.
Right. And, there's a couple things that I can mention about that. You can download your connections information from LinkedIn. And I highly recommend those people who might be prospects or that you're having an ongoing active conversation with, ask them if they want to be on your newsletter. Get them into a platform where you actually own your list. I mean, I can't do what I do without my newsletter. My newsletter is my everything. But most of those people come from LinkedIn.
And the one thing that I wanted to sort of emphasize there was that the fact that you asked them, right? Don't just download that list and start spamming those people, right? Make sure that they're opting in. Make sure that they've agreed to receive this, because otherwise you're just spamming them.
Right, right. But LinkedIn, that comparison that you made between Facebook and LinkedIn and the pay to play, the organic reach on LinkedIn is still ridiculous. And LinkedIn makes it super easy. If I want to see your content in my newsfeed, I want to guarantee that I see your content. There's a little bell underneath your banner that I can activate, and I will get a notification when you publish new content, Mike. So LinkedIn is making it increasingly easy to see only what you want to see in the newsfeed.
And do I want people to follow me or do I want connections? What's the difference?
You want direct connections. LinkedIn, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this completely off the record, doesn't
So we
understand
won't tell
itself.
anybody. Don't listen to this next part.
It doesn't understand itself very well. And they rolled out a feature called creator mode. Now, creator mode allows you to have a bunch of hashtags that are directly underneath your headline that mention. I talk about these things. So for me, it's personal and professional branding on LinkedIn, profile optimization, things like that. Those hashtags have much heavier weight as keywords than anything else in your profile. So, but there is a catch-22 to that. Once you enact creator mode, then you lose the ability to have that connect button there. What it does is it gives you the option to follow instead. Now, following means that people are likely to see your content. It's not a guarantee, but they can't see your contact information. So if you have your contact information in your About section, or you are using a clickable link for a initial consultation or a coffee chat or something like that, it's not a big loss. Now, what I do is like yesterday, I had a speaking engagement and everybody said, "Oh, Angela, I'm so confused on how to connect with you. It just says follow." And I said, "Oh, over a little bit farther to the more button, click on that and it'll say directly connect." Now, if somebody misses that and they just follow me, I will look at their profile, decide if I want them as a direct connection, and I'll say, "Hey, thank you so much for the follow. Wouldn't you rather be directly connected? Connect if you're interested."
And do we want big numbers on LinkedIn? Is that the goal, or what is the goal?
Um, I am, I would err on the side of quality. Not everybody is going to do business with you. Not everybody is going to be a referral partner. And but you also have to think about the idea that it's all about timing, budget, need. And these days, those things come together slowly. So there are people that I have had on my list for 7 years. And when they're ready, they're ready. But one of my rules of thumb for LinkedIn, and the axing continues weekly, is could I recommend this person to another professional? And if the answer is no to that, hmm, why are they in my connections?
And is there an advantage to, culling out your connections? Does that help you or not harm you? What does that do?
I think it increases the quality. And on LinkedIn, a lot of things are about percentages. So if you have a whole bunch of invitations in your invitation file and none of them have been accepted, that hurts you in the algorithms. So I go through there, and anything older than 2 months old, I delete so that my percentages are better. Um, if you have an awful lot of people in your network and a very small percentage of them engage with your content, that also is figured into the algorithms. So there is an advantage to culling deadbeat connections on LinkedIn. It's infinitesimal, but it's there.
And we know that there are some rules on LinkedIn, and you and I have sort of talked about this in the past because I had just previously mentioned about getting bounced. There's this thing called LinkedIn Jail. What is that?
Um, well, it's very interesting. There's an awful lot of people these days that are doing the spray and pray, the spamming of people. And they're also using automation, which is in violation of your user agreement on LinkedIn. And so if they are busted for something. And there's a number of ways they can get busted. Somebody could report you if you get blocked 10 times. There's an if they suspect that you're exceeding limits on invitations or going right up to that limit every single day, that sort of thing, you can end up in LinkedIn jail. Now, first offense is 3 days. Second offense is something like 10 days, and third offense is you're off LinkedIn and you're blacklisted.
And so, there's obviously a paid option on LinkedIn. Is it worth it?
Oh, that's a great question because I have recently changed my mind about the answer to that question. Now, I built my entire business using free LinkedIn, what they call basic LinkedIn service. Built my entire business on that. But I am constantly doing searches, and they're not simple searches, they're advanced searches. And LinkedIn has been stripping all of the features out of every, um, even the premium brands, but the lower end. Everything has been pushed into Sales Navigator. So if you have basic or the two bottom tiers of premium, you will notice that many of the features have been stripped out. But the one feature that I have to have and can't live without is the advanced search feature. I mean, just last week, one of my friends called me up and said, "Hey, I've got a VIP client and I need somebody that does team building and they need to be semi." So I did an advanced search on team building and came up with a bunch of different options and talked to a few of them and made my three recommendations for this ED. Anyway, so I'm using advanced search all the time to demonstrate things. And I have to be able to walk the walk at a moment's notice. So advanced search is something that's super important to me. And I just subscribe to the lowest level, the lowest tier of premium service. If you're
And
using those bells and whistles, yes, it's worth it. If you're not, it is a waste of money. It's a vanity thing.
and many people are on LinkedIn but aren't using LinkedIn, and some folks who try to use LinkedIn get inundated. So, how do we create an approach that's productive and effective rather than just like being on LinkedIn for the sake of being on LinkedIn?
Right. That is an excellent question. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do on LinkedIn. Are they income generating? Are they causing frustration? And what I recommend for everyone is you decide what is the reason you're on LinkedIn? Is it to drive traffic? Is it to fill your webinars? Is it to create credibility and establish yourself as a thought leader? Whatever is it to build your network? Those are all excellent uses of LinkedIn. Pick one or two and then create a simple strategy around that so that you don't all of a sudden go into this rabbit hole and an hour or two later, you come out on the other end and you have no idea what you just did with your time. And it hasn't been income generating.
And if I don't know where to start with that strategy, is there anyone I can call? That was
I
a softball, just in case you weren't paying attention.
I do an hour-long strategy session, and that really runs the gambit. Some people come to me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I just signed up for Sales Navigator, and I'm sure I've just hashed it all up already. Can you help me?" And so that's what we do is we set up a simple strategy, and I'll go as far as to say, here's what you're going to do daily. Here's what you're going to do weekly. Here's what you're going to do monthly. And here's what you're going to do quarterly. And here's how you're going to set the whole thing up. And you can mine these couple of lists that we put together for the rest of this year. For content, I do the same thing. And definitely for a simple strategy like that, it's really great to have a good understanding. It's nice to walk through this stuff with a third party that's objective and say, okay, here's what I see your business model being, and here's where I see LinkedIn helping you the best. Now, here's something that you can do simply every other day, every day to increase your visibility, to help you add a couple of connections here and there so that you don't go down this huge rabbit hole.
And in addition, I believe on your website, you offer a 10-day course, is that correct?
I'm just testing the new and improved 10-day challenge. 10-day challenge has actually been around for 3 years. This is the 3-year anniversary. I've
Okay.
had 400 businesses and solopreneurs go through the LinkedIn challenge. I have a learning platform now. So it is now daily emails that send you to a learning platform. So instead of fighting through your emails and trying to figure out where is that one about the cold prospecting script, where is that one about how I should set up my target audience and my advanced searches? It's all on the learning platform. So I will be relaunching the 10-day challenge very soon. The testers are going through it right now, but it is focused on business development. So it is 10 tactics to really try and figure out what's going to work for you with your personality and your business model, and the type of clients or opportunities that you're looking for, whether it's referral partnerships or speaking engagements, whatever it is that you're looking for on LinkedIn. You use only the things from the 10-day challenge that work for you, and then you do them religiously, and it'll change your business.
So so we can hire you to create a strategy directly. We can do this 10-day challenge to develop our own. Where do we find these tools and how do we get a hold of you?
Well, the easiest way to find value in my world is to sign up for my newsletter. I'm kind of like a fire hose with information, or at least I've been told that many times. And I really put a lot of value into the newsletters. Now, from the newsletter, then you will know when I'm relaunching the 10-day challenge. And on occasion, I will put in a little thing at the bottom about the strategy session. Or, I've knocked a certain amount off the strategy session and I want to get a bunch of them in. The other place is to connect with me on LinkedIn, obviously, because I do produce content. And so in the news feed and in the featured section on my profile, you will see those announcements for things like that that are coming up.
And you were kind enough to let us know that we should sign up for your newsletter, but we still don't know where to sign up for your newsletter.
There is an obnoxious pop-up on my website,
What is your
angeladuns.com.
website? So let's get the URL out there.
angeladuns.com.
DUNZ.com, Angela, DUNZ.com. Because folks won't know just where to look for your website, but it is on your website, which we've now said twice at least, to make sure that people can find you, or they can look for you on LinkedIn as well.
Sure.
And
Yes.
how do you couple sort of, LinkedIn's a very powerful tool, but I'm guessing that you don't recommend this as the sole thing. So how do you couple this with the other networking that you do?
Well, I'm an introvert, and so, I really sort of schedule out my well, the whole answer to that question is, does being in a large crowded room with a bunch of noisy people fill you up and give you energy, or does it zap everything from your existence so you have to pile up in a corner in a ball? And I am definitely in the latter category. Um, I'm trying to get myself geared up for a Provisors at Night event tonight that I know is going to be in a super noisy venue. I know no one's going to be able to hear anything. Um, and I totally forgot the question, Mike.
The question is, how do we, LinkedIn's a powerful tool. How do we leverage that with some of the other networking opportunities or other tools that we might be using? Obviously, you use the newsletter, which is outside of LinkedIn. So what else do we do to leverage the benefits that we're getting from LinkedIn?
Well, I highly recommend that everybody have some sort of a calendar tool that they use so that they have a very positive way to set up appointments with the people that they want to meet one to one from LinkedIn. CRM is an absolute essential in my book. And if you need to start out with something simple, there's lots of new ones that are coming out all the time. I started out with Active Campaign and I have absolutely no regrets about that. But you need to be able to keep track of, oh, that person said, check up with me in 3 weeks. Well, where are you in 3 weeks? Are you there? Do you have a way of capturing that? But definitely live and online networking are super effective. These days, the opportunities to see speakers and do association events and things like that online and in person are still super viable. So you need to be able to have the face to face, being able to meet people in breakout sessions and small groups and that sort of thing. Relationship is where business happens. So whatever you need to do to build a relationship, I'm getting ready to start doing TikTok. I'm going to give it a whirl. But for me, it's my newsletter, it's networking, it's speaking engagements, and it's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the centerpiece of all of that.
The client that I referenced earlier about, moving to LinkedIn or using LinkedIn as a platform versus their own website. One of the questions she asked me, and I gave some advice, and you can tell me how bad my advice is. She said, when I write, should I be on Medium? And I said, no, you should post directly on LinkedIn because LinkedIn has the ability to publish and put articles on LinkedIn and target those folks that are following you. Was that good advice or bad advice, or should she be on Medium?
Advice. It was excellent, but I would recommend that she actually do both. She should publish first on LinkedIn. I mean, a number of years ago, before Microsoft bought LinkedIn, LinkedIn was really trying to establish itself as the number one business publishing platform. So it attracted Forbes, Entrepreneur, Business Insider, Inc., HBR, everyone to publish their articles, and many of them have gotten rid of their print magazines. They're solely on the digital platform, and LinkedIn is the main distribution point for their articles. Now, for an individual, use the article feature, and that definitely could be a strategy session. Um, and I have been a blogging coach for 7 years. LinkedIn has its own etiquette and a way of prettying up material so that you can get people to read a lot more of it rather than just skimming it. A blogging signature is an absolute must. What is the purpose for that blog? Where are you driving that traffic to? What's the point? But the LinkedIn platform allows you to publish long form, 1,500 to 2,000 words. And then that should go into your featured section and be broken into a whole content campaign in smaller pieces and quotations. And maybe you pull out a graph and always be driving traffic back to that. Now, Medium, I don't think has anything like that. Once you publish something, it's out there. That's great. But Google and LinkedIn are, they're like this. If it's got the right keywords and you published it on LinkedIn and then you put it into your featured section on your profile, going to get a lot more attention.
So one of the things that I heard, and you can tell me if I've gotten this right or wrong, is when you do publish on LinkedIn like that, not to put your links directly into the content, but to put your link in the first comment, because LinkedIn, like every other platform, doesn't want you to direct traffic away. So if you put it in your content, that isn't as effective as if you save it and you put it in the comments. Any thought about that?
I have read, I read 10 to 15 social media newsletters a day to keep
Lots of
up on what's,
information, lots of advice. Who knows which one is right?
and it depends on who, some people say you get penalized for putting it in the comments. Some people, my method is I just ignore all the information out there. I put a direct link underneath the photo. It's, click here.
And what about, so if I am creating this, must read piece of content, do I put it on my blog first and then LinkedIn, or do I put it on LinkedIn first and then my blog? Do I, because a lot of times what we'll see is, previously published on my blog. So which should I do first?
Website first, previously published on my blog, LinkedIn, eventually add it to your featured session section. And, if you're going to use it as a newsletter, sometimes I'll do things as a newsletter first. And then, wherever the holes in it were, I shore that up, put it on my blog, and then I publish it out to LinkedIn. So that's a month-long process right there.
And there is a newsletter function on LinkedIn. Do you use that?
I don't.
Okay.
I just before Labor Day, there was a LinkedIn Live for LinkedIn consultants. 207 LinkedIn consultants were together talking about our anecdotal observations and factual observations about what's going on with LinkedIn. And the newsletter feature is not functioning properly. There are somewhere around 850 million people on LinkedIn. And so when they roll something out, that doesn't necessarily mean that the back end of it works perfectly. And what people have been observing is that, it's great. The thing that I don't like about the newsletter feature is that once you publish your first newsletter, every single one of your connections gets that notification. And it may not necessarily be for them. It may only be for 10% of your connections.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone just got a blast from you, whether they wanted it or not. Second thing is after the second or third newsletter, no one seems to be getting it anymore. So it sort of drops off, and you don't own that list. I have heard ridiculous stories about unbelievable numbers of people that signed up initially for a newsletter. If you don't have a capture method for that, what good is that doing you if they only receive 2 or 3 newsletters and then nothing?
And so tell us a little bit, what's the difference? Like, should I have a personal profile? Should I have a business page? And then there's like what the feature page, like for special, like which should I be using all of them? Should I, where do I focus? Because there is a lot of options on LinkedIn.
Yes. So what I tell people is there's a couple sections on your profile that you really want to focus on. The rest of it's really kind of bells and whistles. But number one, have your own personal profile. And especially if you're a solopreneur or a founder or owner or a CEO, because people are going to look up your name, not the company name. So there is this intersection between personal and professional branding. Your personal brand is getting more important every single day. So really focus primarily, first and foremost, on your profile. Now, second, if you have a business, you get a 10x in SEO if you create yourself a company page. I have clients that get 200 to 500 hits on their company page a week. And if they capture some of those, that means business. I have a client that I made 7 author pages for her, one for every single one of her books. Do you know what that did for her search appearances and her who's viewed your profile? If you have the time to create a company page and then once or twice a month add a new piece of content to that, I highly recommend it. Now, the featured section it's kind of like adding a blog to a website. It should be your very best pieces of material. And for my select clients that I do social media management for, once a week, I will go through everything that I posted for them, pick out the most valuable piece of content and add it to their featured section, because all of that SEO gets added to their profile and the algorithms are like, ooh, fresh keywords. Let's serve this one up at the top.
And so one of the features that I love, and not everybody agrees with me, I love the groups. And I use the groups and I find them to be very effective. Your thoughts on groups?
That was a big discussion with the LinkedIn consultants because
Yeah, because not everybody loves them. I know that. Yeah.
well, and LinkedIn has tried to kill them twice. And the backlash has been so huge that they stripped them of a lot of their features, but they're still hanging around. And if you can find some effective groups, they are massively valuable. You don't have to be connected to that person to be able to see their contact information and to carry on an active conversation with them. So there are some huge advantages. You can meet some people that you might not ever meet otherwise because they're third connections. They're connections of connections. And so interest groups like cannabis and lots of other things there, or I know some coaches and consultants that have their own private group where they drop in information and answer questions and use it as a forum for their clients. There are some super effective uses of groups if you have the time and a strategy for it.
Yeah, we use it for cannabis actually and do quite well. And, I am touching people that for whatever reason don't follow me or are not connected to me directly. So it is allowing me to expand my universe. My one little rule about groups is I will never join a group that's unmoderated.
Mm, very important feature.
So if you're running a group, I definitely suggest that you moderate it. And, we will have people that will come into our group. We pretty much approve everybody. We assume you're a good player until you prove otherwise. But if you're not, we're going to bounce you, really hard and really fast. But, so we allow you to join our groups, but then we moderate them. And it's always amazing when somebody joins the group and then spams it immediately. Like, really?
Your agreement, just like anything else.
Yeah. But I won't join a group if it's unmoderated because that's just spam central in my mind.
Adding that.
Yeah. What else should we be looking for on LinkedIn, and what other parting pieces of advice do you have for us?
Well, before you asked about the profile, and I think a lot of people, because I sort of baited that, are going to be like, well, what are the most important features on your profile so that I can spend my time more efficiently? So I think I'm going to end with that.
Okay.
So the above the fold view, you get 5 seconds to make an impression, sometimes even less. So you want to make sure that you have a great photo, well lit from the front, head and shoulders only, friendly and approachable, neutral background, look professional according to your industry. If you're a marketer or an attorney, very different standards there. Have a banner. I don't care what it is, just get something in that banner space so you don't look like a newbie. Now, one of the most important features of your entire profile is your headline. Who do you serve? What problem do you solve? And what results can people enjoy when they work from you? Answer 2 of those questions in your headline and let people self-select. It's kind of like the sorting hat. Are you my guy? Are you my gal or not? That's what your headline is all about. And then that first paragraph of your about section is not about you. It is not about you. That needs to be client focused, either 3 qualifying questions or a very brief success story that names the challenge, the solution the 2 of you came up with, and the result for that client. After that, if you have some time, get into your skills section. Everybody has got words in their skills section of things that they are never going to do for money again. Get them out of there because you are getting hits and search appearances for those words. 3 places where keywords are super strong: headline, the creator mode, and the skills section. That is what the algorithms are searching.
And when you fill out your profile, do you make your contact information public?
Oh, yes, definitely. Or I have heard the rumor out there, and word on the street, is if you are afraid of security and people scraping your information on LinkedIn, put your phone number or your calendar link in your about section. People can't scrape that as easily as they can the contact information. Now, me, I'm an introvert. I really don't ever want anyone to call me, but I put my phone number there as an act of good faith. And I don't think I've ever gone astray doing that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the benefits, for us has been that we do list our phone number as well, but it's a mobile number and not, we do get the occasional phone call, but when they come up as unknown or whatever, we don't answer them anyway. But the great thing is it gives people the opportunity to either connect with us on WhatsApp or we have a link on LinkedIn for WhatsApp, or send us a text. And for us, that's like, if they want to ask us a question, it's much easier because that allows us to respond in our own time based on, when we have a free moment. But it does give them another opportunity to reach out to us directly, and they don't necessarily need to call us. But just having the phone number, lots of folks, prefer to text or to WhatsApp and things like that. So, we give them that option.
Yeah, it makes you accessible. And, for anybody in a job search, I'm like, why would you not? Because on the mobile, it is a one touch. And we all know that we're super spontaneous these days. If I can get a hold of you easily, there may be an opportunity there. If I can't, maybe
Yeah,
not.
I'm not going to work that hard to get a hold of you if you're going to, don't make me work for it. So, one last question for you, okay? I get the cowboy hat, but what I'm not getting is the skeleton because it's a little too early for Halloween. Tell us the story about the skeleton.
Alfred,
Yes,
my
Alfred.
buddy, my buddy Alfred. I was pre-med once upon a time, Mike,
Okay.
and I am a complete A&P geek, anatomy and physiology.
Thank you,
And
because I'm like the supermarket. What?
oh, you remember those? Oh
Yeah,
my
I
gosh.
worked there. That's how old I
Oh
am. I
my
worked at A and B.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, Alfred's my buddy right now. I'm going through some healing. I dislocated my sacroiliac, and that knocks off just about everything else in your entire body. And so I actually have my medical dictionary and my anatomy coloring book right next to me on my desk here. And so as I'm going through this
Yeah,
whole
you are an
healing
introvert.
process,
I changed my mind.
but I'm gaining mobility in places that have been locked up for a while. And so I'm always at Albert trying to figure out how is it supposed to move so that I can actually go through my PT a little bit more effectively. So yes, I am a total geek about that stuff.
Well, Angela, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you sharing the insights, and we all hope that people can take them and use them. If you are confused, if you feel overwhelmed by what we shared today, by all means, reach out to Angela, and she can be reached at angeladunz.com. Dunz is spelled DUNZ.com, or she can be found on LinkedIn. So we're happy that we were able to get this far into the video without a visit by any one of our respective pets. So there was a brief cat appearance, but it was short. We're okay.
Yes.
But
Yep.
nothing disruptive. So we appreciate that, and that's actually a major accomplishment on our parts if you know us. So there you go, Angela. Thank you, and we look forward to having you back real soon.
My pleasure, Mike. It was great conversation.